Um, so I've been responsible for a while to create spaces to people dialogue somehow, like meetings, courses, like co-creative methods, bringing a lot of subjects together. I used it to have these in a lot in a co-working space that I had, but I experienced this in a really special way in a place that actually nowadays I can explain it, but at the time it was really difficult to define what the fuck was going on there. And the thing is, what will try to translate here is how to replicate an experiment, a social experiment like that. And the thing about this experiment, it is by nature temporary because it's something that will bring people together, that those people will live or will experience some kinds of things together. And after that, all around the world, people that already tried to create something like that, the experiment dies. Dies because of all kinds of issues. For those experiments, some people call them a temporary autonomous zone. It's like a place, like something that you create so people can interact with some subject. Okay, so what I've created years ago, I can call right now as a temporary autonomous zone. And what it was that place, I will call that the invocation of a collaborative spirit, maybe, or invocation of a cultural landscape spirit, because it was in Rio de Janeiro in a neighborhood. So maybe if I'd done that same experiment in another place, in another spirit, maybe it would occur differently. But what was this? It was a house which did not have rules. Everyone could go to the house, could copy the key, and give to another person. And there was one rule, actually. This was a rule, of course, to copy the key and give someone. And there was another rule that nobody could live in the house, like to sleep over and stuff like that. Sometimes okay, but to live in it, like this is my house, it was forbidden. But what occurred in that house was a lot of people that needed spaces, needed something, need a resource that is space with light, with energy, with internet, or just somewhere to meet other people and do their own agenda in it. So in that house we had, for example, business meeting, of course, like on a co-working. People went there, they had their daily meeting and stuff like that. But we also invited in a natural way other kinds of community, like communities that wanted to discuss love. So free love, for example, people that were married or people that weren't married, they wanted to discuss love. Or people that want to discuss something about property, for example. So some kind of social and anarchist groups went to the house. But the weird thing, it was corporate people also went to the house. Like there was this this was something that happened in this house that was really weird. For example, one day we had a shaman ritual with drums and stuff in the first floor, and in the second floor we were having a workshop with Vale do Rio Doce. Vale do Rio Doce, for who doesn't know, it was one of the major miners companies in Brazil, and they were responsible 2 years after that for the major disaster, natural disaster that just vanished a lot of Indians communities and stuff like that. But that was like we create this weird place that corporate and shaman people doing a ritual was in the same place at the same time, living there and with the capacity to see their faces and to have a dialogue. So with time, that house were with his own life. Like nobody, most of people started to go to the house and started to just copy the initial discourse that was, you can come here, you do whatever you want. We have a free agenda in Google Agenda. You can put your meeting there. It's like self-management in the basis level, and you can contribute whatever you want. Oh, but what that means? I can do whatever. You can do whatever you want. Oh, so there was one guy, I don't know him, but as a joke, he said to me, "Oh, so I can put poop on the wall?" Yes, you can, but you make a lot of problem for yourself, but you can do everything. Not is forbidden, but everything have consequences, relationship consequences, because when you set people like do whatever you want, people, oh my god, this is barbaric, this is, oh my god, this is not, no, this means that you will need to confront people more. You will need to talk with people more. You will need to have relation, or you can go once, you can go twice, and the community itself will make you not go there more, because affection, it was the rule. So the main characteristics to create something like that, an experiment that can be copied, combined with other characteristics, and transform it in another thing, in my point of view, is that first of all, you need to understand the social concept that you want somehow to make people subversive it, like to transform it. Like it's something so natural for us to think in another way. It's fucking different. Example, you can do whatever you want in a private property. This is fucking whatever. Something is, oh, I go somewhere that I know the person. The other thing is, you go there and what the fuck? What you mean? Who is the owner of it? So the first thing in this recipe of invoking whatever culture spirits of that place it is to provoke something with practice, with practical thing. Like, I have this space means something, and you can do it. So this causes some strangeness. This is the first thing in the recipe. The other thing, you need something to manifest it. I just know how to manifest it in physical spaces. So the other thing is how you capture this concept that is strange for common sense. You need to transform it in something that people can actually experience it, live in it, not just theoretical. The third part is to invoke this spirit, to maintain it with energy. You have to bring priests, like other persons that could behave like the founders. For example, like the founders are their own priests. Like, I'm founding this, now I'm going to have this simple way to explain it, and I'm going to be there for 1 month or 2 months saying to people that they do whatever they want. But it could be another thing, I don't know. The fourth thing that is needed is flux, flow. You need to put this because I had other experiment that went differently, but created community. But you need to put on a place that have natural people flow. In this place, we were nearby a metro station, in a place that had a lot of people in the street. So this is the first ingredient of the recipe, how to bring flow. So major experiment, we are existing flow. The fifth thing is to create something that costs and prove the concept. For example, we use it to put all the costs of the house in things like that, in white and stuff like that, and give consciousness to people so they can price the value, because value is something that we feel, cost is something that we can calculate, but price is something that we give the price of things. There is no natural price. There is not something that is, oh, this is really expensive. No, this is cheaper. This is about feeling. Like it can be cheap for you, it can be expensive for you. So there's another thing. The other thing, the other recipient is to curation. The initial curation, that means the initial people that you bring there will somehow create other people that will go there. So we created things like to question love, to question art, business, because we needed to work, like clients and stuff like that, but we needed to work, to question price, cost, and value because of the people that we invited. So the first people that we invited were capable to create not just content, but relations and meaningful dialogues that will sustain the vibe, like the spirit of it. And last of all, for an experiment like that, but if without that, maybe it was just a co-working or just a private space, you don't have the honor there. The person magically have to be unknown or absent, because the symbol of the honor, just the symbol of the honor, is enough to people don't get empowered. Just the symbol, the people with the contract, the people that tell the rules, the people, because symbolically, people want fathers, mothers, parents, people who are hired to say if they are correct or not. So why I'm giving this recipe? Actually, I think there's a method to create zones so people can interact whatever, and they can emerge real things and real relationships and real projects and real dialogues, and they can like be people that understand and learn autonomy, like to how to be autonomous, but how to be interdependent. Because I have all the freedom to do whatever I want, but the other person is doing something, the other person with absolutely freedom. So what I think of this experiment is I did that in 2013. I imagine what should, how it could be if we develop a kit, a simple kit or a method that people could replicate it and put it on chain. This is a question for you all. There is a way to unite social experiments that bring social value to people. There are there are ways that maybe this P2P technology and things like that, and this social value that we create locally, could be connected globally. That's a question that since that I was there, I questioned myself, but I did not know what the fuck blockchain was, what was this globalization of technology, and what was the transaction of value in governance. Those was concepts that we didn't need at the time. But the thing is, it's really cheap to do something when you unite a lot of people to create a platform of physical relationship. And maybe it's also cheap to create a network connected that social experiments could occur differently in different places, bringing and emerging different things, different dialogues, different concepts, different communities. And I don't know, this is a question, and maybe I can open for dialogue here, and how. Oh, this and so maybe it's something that I would like to. What?
No,
He has his own, so you can, yeah,
Oh,
you can use this one if you
no,
have
I
a
don't know if
question.
you want to say something.
I had a question later.
Okay.
No,
I have a question.
he said we can ask questions, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, it's like how if you guys somehow feel that is interested, how can we create this social experiments?
Would My question is like this: Will it be enough to just have a public secret, like a wallet that where the secret is publicly known? Anybody can send funds there because they know the public key, and anybody can retrieve or transfer funds on because they know the secret key. It's a very very weird concept, but I'm wondering, is this similar?
I don't know if I understand the secret part.
Usually you have the secret for yourself, right? So only you can use your money in the wallet.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
Oh, the
Private
seed
key.
phrase.
yeah,
Okay.
the private key. So
how,
basically,
how to connect with the funds, the collective funds. Okay.
so my question is, would it be similar to just take your private key and just throw it out on the internet and have like a public wallet?
To do that, would I have the same results of social experiments, and would I have the same intention and intensity on relationships through people? I don't know. This is an experiment. We could try to do that. But also, what I think, it's maybe some kind of this mechanism could, yes, made people through the world access the local experiment, and maybe giving funds or taking funds, or I don't know. But this is a way to put on chain, and I don't know if I answer your question.
No, you did kind of. Thank you. So yeah, thank you.
Hello. I'm not sure if I understood it well. So, two questions. First, could we do for profit things in the house?
Yeah.
And the second question is, did you pay the rent? There was a rent every month and water rent that had to be paid?
Yeah, the first thing, yes. The house itself is a platform, so you can use whatever you want, even to have profit through an event there, and you could contribute whatever you want. If you want to contribute with cleaning, okay. If you want to pay a bill, okay. If you want to give money to the actually we had this this old object that was used late I don't know sometime to spit on it, like a silver object to spit on it, and it was our donation box, so people there could send it. And answer your second questions, in the first 4 to 6 months, this experiment took 2 years, okay, and I can say how it dies. Also, it's important, but how it goes. Three, four people agree that we had the money. I was one of them. Elkos, Felipe, it was the guy that you talked. He was another at a time, and we had another two. One of them lives in Berlin today, and actually, I need to bring him to Wizard Amigos. He's awesome, and we had the money. We were the like the anchors of the spirit. Like we sacrificed it as a resource, some money. But after a while, like the house was giving profit. It was not profit, but the money, the small money that exceeds the rental, the light accounts, the energy accounts, the internet, was to the next month. Was to the next month. Okay. So we had some people that were disposable to give the initial money and to see what happened, because actually we didn't want to pay for more than 6 months, and after that it became sustainable.
Well, I'm not sure if my last question makes sense, but it was how much did you lost in the experiment?
How much did I lost? I think in total, I will try to put on euros. Just you guys have some power of consumption, right? But it was like something 25 reais, 25,000 reais, 5,000 euros.
You lost 5,000 euros. Okay.
Not me. I
The
lost
group, the group, the
the
group.
group. Yeah, 25,000.
Can you explain why was that?
Because it was the rental, the internet, and the energy until people, the community pay for the rent, for the energy, for everything through
So
donation.
you didn't lost then.
Yeah, lost. For me, it was an investing because I did I community and the relationship and people that walked through this platform became business partners, became partners for life. Like so, it's like a lot of my best best friend, not in the childhood, but some good friends till today. I met there. Actually, best friends I met there, people that I work to today.
Uh, yes, yeah, this sounds interesting. So you said like it worked for 2 years maybe, and it was you said I think 6 months where you kind of let's say helped start it, something like this, where you would say you do the cost, and then afterwards also somehow the community participated,
Yeah.
and it was kind of working, and then you didn't yet say how maybe it ended.
No, I can't say it, but
Yeah, I was wondering, like, because you also asked as a question, how could this be on blockchain? Like, I personally would imagine if you did it again, would it work in this exact same way, or would it depend on the kind of people that come? And then, but maybe, uh, even though it's so free, there's always some way in which it will actually happen to be used, and to like some kind of habits or some culture will evolve. Sometimes maybe it's more like not so good. Sometimes it works better, but it's different from how it usually is. There's an owner I'm renting, so it's definitely different.
yeah.
But then who knows what could be an alternative to this? So I imagine if there is some experiment like this, it doesn't always work. But if there happens to be something that actually somehow works, at least for some time, somebody could write down all these kind of habits, culture, and how it's working in that time, and then maybe somebody could try to express the same rules that people kind of informally maybe do in some sort of a smart contract or some sort of chain, and then go and have people who don't have the background, or let's say the values, philosophy, ideas how to do it, and they then just learn it not by doing it because they don't know how to do it, but they just follow the smart contract and the app that helps them to somehow recreate the same thing that maybe those other people who had maybe better ideas, they could do it without a blockchain.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think there are a lot of things to discuss when what we're talking, but as a principle, it everything take effort. So it was a lot of effort. Like those 6 months for me to my body was 5 years of learning because it was what the fuck I'm doing. What the fuck are those people? What the fuck? Actually, the house for 3 months, it was named the fuck off house, or I don't care house. I don't care. I don't care. Oh, but why are you doing that? I don't care. I don't know. I don't know. I'm doing. After that, after 3 months, the house, the community itself said, no, this is not the fuck off house. And I remember a girl saying, oh, no, this is the love house. But actually, the name of the house was the name of the street and the number because it was no brand. Like we were not a brand. We were not something. We are just a space. But of course, oh, but is it brand or whatever? But answer your question. I don't know how we could express this cyborg whatever experience that we have like with blockchain, that it's super invisible, this reality, but the goal is how to be simple in directly experience. So what is the concept behind it? What we want people to learn as values. It's value. It's about value. It's about collaboration. It's a value intrinsic to your behavior. And this is so costful because one thing is I want things to be like that, so I will build a co-working space. This is so much easier. like, but how do you build through relation, through constantly um, confront, conflict, how to build strong relationships? And answer your question, I really don't know. For example, for us was really effort to create a Google agenda that people could go anywhere, any person could spot a meeting or something for us. But this was made to us not have the efforts to someone to call or someone go there and write so I think my answer to you is how to we create mechanisms that people don't need to how to program in a Google Agenda. This is easy for persons, for someone is not easy for to others. But how do you create things that give more power to people, use the platform and create more relationships and self-management itself? It's about self-management. And I don't know how could we connect or how can we create social value transactions, and I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, but I really don't know if they could it have to be simple.
Yeah, I imagine like in a normal setting, let's say where like I'm renting an Airbnb or whatever, if there's ever like a problem or something that is unclear, you have like always like the owner of the space who maybe makes the rules or has the final decision. So they're like the default conflict resolution or decision mechanism. And in this setting that you're describing, I imagine, I mean, I have no idea, but like I imagine that it's somehow when people use the space, there needs to be like maybe the group wants to use it in the evening and another group wants to also use it in the evening, and maybe they want to use it every day or maybe for so long, or they want, and which group can now do it and which one has, like, they have to somehow talk and figure out, okay, what's the rule? Is the group that is maybe most often there because they're so often there and maybe they decorated the room, do they have more rights as somebody new? Like, I imagine people will find some mechanisms that are maybe based on who's the longest there, or maybe it's based on if somebody was longer, then or maybe, of course, who's the strongest could also be a thing. Like, I'm the strongest, I will not take this and you cannot do it. What kind of strategies do people find when there is no really, like, let's say, a formal owner who can then just, like, do it? And if the people ignore the formal owner, he will call the police or whatever. Like, that's like maybe the default way in the society. But, like, if that's not available, what are the mechanisms for the conflict resolution or coordination that people actually then use? I mean, there may be many, but, like, it would be interesting to write them down or figure out, oh, this is what people were doing, it works, and this is maybe it didn't work so well.
There are two ingredients to that. One is the creation of initial people that were in that place. They were black belts on dialogue method.
Oh.
Facilitation, creative facilitating, art of hosting, for example. I don't know if you know the method art of hosting. It's a method, it's a global method. You have groups all around the world. And people there knew this methodology, but another others methodology. This is one ingredient that when you were like explaining your point, I was, oh, yeah, the group had this ability. The initial group had this ability. And of course, through creation, through relationship, because it's peer-to-peer, it's like trust. And people, for example, the keys could be copied for people that were there. Everyone was, oh my God. And if a bad person came here and copy everything never happened. Okay, so because of the creation, P2P, and of course, most of people there, I never knew them, but there was this membrana, this I don't know the word in English.
Like a friend of a friend.
Yeah, the cellular wall
Membrane. Yeah.
membrane. Yeah, by the friend, not a friend of a friend, but the trust that I trust that I trust that I trust,
Yeah.
maybe something. But especially the initial created people that wanted to host meaningful dialogues. So anyone that wants to hold dialogues, meetings, you guys, for example, you have some facilitating skills. And actually, there are methods for that. The second part of it, and this is important because I just remember right now, is at that time in Rio de Janeiro, we had this group called Non-Violent Communication Practices. And every Wednesday, we had a session of everyone that were in the house could go and understand how to make to create this skill to communicate without violence, like, or without being violence, or trying to understand the violence of the other communicator. But it's practice, it's dojo, it's like you went with your white belt and you practice.
Also, is a
And you're big.
black belt in nonviolent communication people.
Yeah.
Can I ask one thing? What do you think is like the main value that was created from this experiment for the people? Like, if we would to reproduce this somewhere else, what do you think would be the biggest value that could come out?
Don't know. Not knowing, maybe. I don't know. That's just not knowing.
So I'm going to offer a solution. I agree with everything that Alex said, so I'm going to use, because he spoke first. I'm going to use everything he says, from my thinking of other similar experiences, like a house with no owner, that it's something that I think it should exist, and I would participate on that experience for sure. And that makes me think that the main goal of the house with no owner is to be used, to have a role. And to, so I would create a token that it's distributed to the people that use the house according to days contrary. For instance, on the weekend you receive less tokens, the house gives you less tokens than if you go there on Monday or Tuesday, because are days that are people don't go out at those days so much, so the house would reflect on that. And the people that receive the tokens, they can do the curation, for instance, of there's on the same day there are 2 or 3 events that propose to be there, and the persons that, who has the tokens, they participate voting. They use the token. Just the token is just for voting and for governance, and that's it. You could use the token for curation and for governance, and also, for instance, you could vote with your token on the people, how you find the house, if the house was cleaned or not when you arrived there, because the other people before they clean it or not. And then you would be given tokens also to the people that left. And with time, I think we would have a community of people that that mediated by technology, they can self-manage the house without nobody being owner and without you even be needed your regulation. Why I'm saying that this is a good proposal, because blockchains, they exist to one of the main and most important roles of a blockchain is to help people to have actions, to do things. A blockchain is it's very good to make things happen. And when you give tokens to people to go to the house, when the house itself gains some kind of presence and personality, that's a good use for a blockchain.
What I think you said is useful as long you do it. Like, there was a saying in the house that becomes a cultural thing is, if you see something, if you see a task, the task is yours. Because, oh, someone did not clean this. Who is someone? Like, who is the fucking someone? It's and the other thing I think maybe depending on the curation, depending on people that come together, maybe the rules that you put it, because they are already rules. How, oh, because you're anticipating the problem. Oh, the house is going to be dirty, so I will give a token. Blah 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 blah. This I think this have to emerge naturally. Like, we need to give people with your mind, people need to create this sense of responsibility, not responsibility, but capability to do and think like you just thought.
I have just a thought that relates to this.
Okay.
Is because, like, when I was listening to your explanation before, I felt that the whole magic happened because maybe for the first time people were actually given all the freedom. That was not a school, not like parent, not job. They were somewhere in a space where they have total freedom and they could actually explore and develop their own rules based on of course the limitations of needs of other people. So I'm wondering if it's even possible to capture these rules in this, what Miguel suggested, in some kind of a token or whatever blockchain logic, or is this supposed to be fluid because it's changing based on new people coming, and only then the real magic can happen because it's so live.
It's like it's social phenomena. It's social phenomena. So I think what Miguel proposed is super valid if the social phenomena have strength enough to make it happen. If we have leadership, we have people that know how to do that. If it's easy to people do that. For example, imagine I don't know my mom. My mom doesn't know what is blockchain. If I create rules like that, there is a membrana. That's a membrane that will replish,
Reject.
reject. Yeah.
Or disappear?
No, that right. Reject her because
Repel.
the symbolic thing for her is so unnatural that she would not use it. But the problem is how this could be a place that, of course, we learn how to use technology. It's okay. It's something that I think that would create more people in the society that can solve problems. Period. But this is different of putting rules in the first instance. The proposals here is not just to create what you said, but if someone in another neighborhood, in another country, could take this kit of cultural framework and create something different. Like maybe in Portugal, what you said, maybe for the cultural way of thinking, maybe this could happen. In Brazil, I don't think so, because we think differently, and in a way maybe don't, or in a way maybe in another place don't. But the thing is, how can I make this ground fertile for things like that, or totally different things. It could be totally different. It could be like artists that just want to create an art gallery that will change forever and forever and forever and forever. The social rules are totally different. So how can we create the ground infrastructure to culture to arise itself with the platform? Because it's a platform to meeting, to people interact. Like it's to give big bands to relationships.
I tried to give my best, but I didn't thought much about it. It was just to reply to your demand.
And I think your demand is perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. Perfect.
May I? So, but I feel a little bit bad now because I wanted to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Is mine?
Okay. So, I was intrigued by your idea to create like smart contracts, but to define what is this freedom house supposed to be like, right? Define what the guideline rules is and try to solve the token. What? Yeah, I think that was something along those lines. So basically, my concern became that we would then kind of automate away the process of conflict. A lot of the conflict go away, I was afraid. And my second observation was that by defining house cleaning on blockchain, then there is actually a huge. I think that we kind of we create the problem rather than let it go away by itself. Like every time we define that the house is supposed to function a certain way on blockchain, we kind of take away the whole natural emergence of it. I'm still kind of interested what to do where the blockchain application exists there, and I think it would be very good for functions that would like maybe kill the house or provide a base rule for other peoples to create similar houses with different culture or bootstrap their own culture. Yes,
Just
I
a response to this. I'm just I'm just
You
wondering.
didn't finish. Why did you stop? If you didn't.
no, I said what I wanted.
Are you saying?
Okay.
That was compressed information.
Okay. No. What I was thinking now is maybe the blockchain, if it has to be even used, but I think that maybe now just gave me what you were saying gave me some idea, was like maybe what would be useful to return back to what was Alex before saying, how do we capture all the knowledge, all the know-how of that kind of house? Maybe blockchain could be used to record the things that actually happened, so that you can then go back and see what kind of rules were created, because people do things maybe subconsciously. But if you are trying to record this, then at least you have something that you can replay or analyze later, rather than having a set of rules that have to guide you, because it feels like rigid to me.
Yeah, yes, Alex. So, exactly, like that's what I was thinking. Like, the worst thing we could do is to define a rule for briefing inside of the house. That should be completely autonomous and never recorded. Like, there's no point in defining who can brief when. That then we create a problem rather than solve a problem. Yes, thank you.
What's brief? What did you mean?
Briefing.
Oh, breathing.
To breathe. Okay.
Yeah, well, but I think when Miguel said the idea, and then you mentioned, I don't know exactly how you said it, but it should be, maybe you said like it should be organically grow and change. And so when you upfront design the rules, like the people in the house or the people who participate should kind of see how it evolves or develops, which reminded me somehow about like but I don't know if I read it on Wikipedia, but like there's a game, and I think it's called Gnomic. I don't know if anybody ever heard it, but I think it's a game that has no rules, but it's not really no rules. It's like the people who play it, they make up the rules, and then the game changes based on this, and then they again do it. And I think it's a very old game that, I don't know, was probably invented 70s, 80s, long time ago. Don't know, but I imagine maybe when there is basically the smart contracts, whatever the rules are, they would need to be able to change, maybe based on tokens, maybe something, but maybe some inspiration could be used from this gnomic, because of course, if the people who participate should also make the games, they would need to have somehow, I mean, probably by people playing these gnomic games, there may be some precedent on how this could evolve, and maybe it can. I mean, that's the biggest challenge. Like, to, of course, somebody can upfront design the rules, but if they evolve, there needs to be a technique to always change them. So that was, and the second thing I think was when you make it, when the rules are there, it would remove the conflict or
Automate away the conflict.
yeah, automate away the conflict. So something like that. I feel. It doesn't mean that there couldn't be also houses where, let's say, people who are more experienced do it with less blockchain. But I also feel if there are all those smart contract rules, it makes the thing more, it expresses it like in black and white almost. While otherwise it's all like it's more like in people's heads and feelings, and then like if somebody's like already an expert, they can maybe navigate and understand, but somebody who is new, it feels like very unsafe. I don't know exactly the rules, I don't have any experience, but so then I can basically read almost the rules on the blockchain and see, and then I see, oh, these are how the rules are made, and I can almost practice to get slowly better and have the safety of seeing, okay, this is how these smart contracts work at the moment, this is how they were in the past, this is how it evolved. I have some inspiration too, and then I can slowly practice and learn, and maybe at some point I don't even need the rules, but so it could be like a valuable thing also for learning. Okay, that was anyway somehow the inspiration that I got to say.
Yes, thank you. Oh, it inspires me. It connects it with me a lot. And sorry, you want to say something?
No, you can.
Okay, so the thing on the smart contracts that you said, it's I would put the smart contracts doing some kind of, the house could be a materialization of a human being that doesn't exist, in just in order for facilitate us the empathy part, and about money and about don't need nobody to control it, even on the money part. The house, just there's a day that she wants to pay the rent, and there's a public number that of money that she transfers every day to the landlord or something, and the house could just send a message to all the people that have tokens saying, I don't have any money to pay the rent this month, can you help? and uh, if she has a nice face,
This is useful.
and if the house has a nice face and a nice smile, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. It could be just a nice smiling face saying, "I have no money. I have no money. Please tell me something." I'm saying this example to go to another place. It's that we don't have to. The blockchain part. It doesn't mean that it's about tokens or it's about management of the basic rules of functions and about personality also. I don't know, but I keep thinking about this idea of a house that owns itself. If somebody has wants to add something to this idea, it's the thing that comes to my mind because we always everything that it's around us has an owner, and that bothers me a lot. I would prefer that a lot of things that are useful could be owned by themselves. And you are a lawyer, you could figure out if this is possible or not. But I think I would go more to this. That is a great, valid example. But if I would replicate it, I would replicate it with more technology, of course, but also with more sense of the self on the part of the house itself.
Yeah, I think all those ideas are valid and everything's valid. It doesn't have, of course, I think like a white canvas, it's or with a line, it's more understandable than a complex picture and how to co-create with a complex picture or something like that. So but I don't think that there is the chicken and the egg. Like you can engage in a social experiment that's already complex. It's of course it's more complex to engage in it, and and the complexity of human relationships is something. And I will. Everything is valid. Everything that you guys are saying is valid. But there is another thing that we have to be conscious about. That is our ability to identification. And I think we need to die like because at some point you get identified with the experiment and you start not to see the blank spot, like, or something that you're not seeing. And that's why I call it temporary zone. It has to be temporary. We have to create, because after a time, it's impossible to co-create. Social relationships are so deep that the house will not be more a collaborative house or co-creation house. It will be something. It could be a platform of common use. For example, I will say how our house died. And we were in a place in Brazil, like the Zeitgeist place, like for something like that. That there was a lot of revolts with the governments, a lot of people going to the streets. The creative economy was so scarcity, like good people, creative people, uh, were scarcity, and somehow and the apoio, the support for entrepreneur was so low that house, that kind of experiment could give a support, a community support, because people were in pain without government, social, any support. And that was the landscape. So for a while, the houses were hosting good meetings about communication, about violence, about entrepreneurship, about investment, about love, about property, about whatever. But it also became to have fetish, like commercial entrepreneurs that have stuff and they want to sell it. So you every Friday, for example, people that want to sell old clothes go there and become some a lot of things. And this house was in a village, and this village had a rule. And maybe this you put off the the video, but the rule was no strangers people are allowed in the village. But what is a strange? What is a strange if we connect through a chain of trust? But when in this part of things where we created an experiment that the no rules, you can't put rules, and people started to do events where actually strands comes and go to buy stuff. The village was, what the fuck is happening? It was some guys appearing here and there is a flow, but was so much people in the house that people actually were doing stuff outside the house. And totally successful, totally successful, you know, but was against the constitution of the village. Um, and we were told from them that they were old people and they said, it's okay, I love you guys. I really love the house. You make cake for us. The people from that village went to the house, but it became too big for the house. The movement itself, it became too big to the house, and there was no sense to fight for it. Like, oh no, you're going to stay. I don't care for your rights of the village. No. So we went to another house, but that house was really special because the first the one of the first ingredients that I said, it's stay in a place that flows, that people can go easily to that place. It's not whatever, but it's just a place. It's not beautiful. It's not, but give people the chance to access it easily, to use it easily. Don't put barriers on the access. That's why maybe blockchain sometimes it's not the best thing. Or we could create a house of people that are curated because we have the same language. Because to understand blockchain is an initiation process. It's an initiation process. You like the words, the meaning is difficult. But maybe we can create a blockchain house and another house and another house, and somehow they are cultural connected. But that's how the house died, and us as founders, not initiators, because the found something, and we like the initiator. We initiated. For us, we learned everything that we need to learn in that place. We could create another, but the movement itself created another after that with the characteristics of the house that for us, for me, for the other initiators, doesn't mean anymore. And people were moving to Berlin, for example. Look, oh, my life is going to go to Berlin. I'm going to move, and they started to be in Ethereum and stuff like that. But at that time, the movement got itself, and I wonder the thing that we were talking about there that the nature of power and social construction is centralization. Is like if like for example my family, like I have a love relationship with my wife and I have a baby. So it's impossible to have the same relation and the same centralization of emotional experience with other person. Is time. The time is I can't replicate my time, but the same occurs with social structures. So that's why I want to achieve, maybe not me, but if maybe more people would think how are the basic rules to create fasts. Let's create fast had to be fast, but let's create a lot of them, like to create and die, to create and die, to create and die, because it's not the house itself it dies, but it's a way to create movement, social movements, and those social movement can have its genre. Like it could be blockchain, it could be design, it could be lawyers, it could be whatever, but it's a platform, it's an interaction platform, and the rules to create it, it's not so difficult. What is difficult? It's the social effort. The social effort is really how it's difficult to bring people to here and stuff like that, and it's difficult. This is the difficulty. But how can we maybe create a campaign, like a project that more than one house arises somehow and we are connected? I don't know. I just put honey on the.
I'm like what is interesting here is kind of like when you mentioned what happened after that the people obviously came to a certain stage of rules and the I don't know ideas and whatever was happening that
And
they
phenomena.
captured that and then they moved to another place and then did this other place also still evolve or did it then stay in some certain
It people from this house moved to that other house that was also a hostel and also a place to party. It was something because it was available at that moment. After that, some other experiments emerged, not just in Rio de Janeiro. I heard about things in Minas Gerais that I never went to, and people that, oh, I knew the place, I did something inspiring in that, and I was tired. I needed to do other stuff because the house gave to me a lot of networking too, and a lot of good jobs and stuff. But after that, we had this house. After this other house, we have another house, and after this another house. I was not involved anymore, but a lot of people created a holistic therapeutical house in a really main street in Laranjeiras that where I used to in a big house where people did massages or people. So the fundamental characteristics change. It's like, but it's kind of movements. Like it's a kind of force that was moving and moving and moving and moving, and became it with something super simple.
Yeah, because how it sounds to me is as if it would be some sort of an incubator where you go and like you said, it's moving the whole time until it finds something. And because you mentioned the second houses were like hostel with a party place, therapeutic, so
Yeah.
as if they would somehow, you know, when they find a model for themselves, some certain amount of people who click on this kind of thing, poof, they can basically then go and continue on that mission.
Yeah,
As
people just try to transform the model in another model in another model with different people. That's the thing. Actually, there was on the of the second experiment some persons of the first, in the third one person from the second. It was something like that. But actually, after that, it became other things because rules. Because the thing is, what we couldn't replicate in the first one was the absence of rules. Because the second already had rules and the
yeah,
third already had rules.
This is what
Absence.
yeah.
I think this is the fertile ground.
Yeah, that's
Is
why
the
it
absence.
sounds to me like there's two things. Like it's almost like the first layer is
Is the
this
first. Yeah.
absence of
Yeah.
rules,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you can creatively just be whatever and explore yourself without any borders. But then when you find it, then it crystallizes and it kind of tries to capture some know-how or some rules or something and become something more concrete. So maybe I'm just thinking if this could be a model for innovation in society in
I
general,
think so.
to kind of create first layer, no rules, people just explore yourself, just liberate yourself from all the, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the first layer is no rules, but hard skill on dialogue. Hard skill on dialogue.
on
You have
yeah, yeah.
and a hard skill on dialogue methodology, because if you didn't ask it, I would not remember. But people there worked with that. Like in the first house, people worked with that. They
Social skills kind of.
social skills, like they facilitate heavy dialogues in companies, for example, conflicts, mediators, people that and not just mediators, but they can facilitate co-creation through questions, through social interaction, through methodological creative methodologies, and people were black belt in that. And I didn't realize it that at the time. That was an ingredient. That's why I tried to do a recipe here, because there are some ingredients to create this first layer. Because, for example, the second spectrum, the third, the fourth, they were another layer. They were another thing. They are trying to understand other things, but they actually were autonomous temporary zones, you know.
I didn't. I just wanted to follow your proposal and present some alternatives. Now I just want to criticize a bit the model, the initial model. What I think it's. I didn't. I wasn't there. I don't know. I just can try to imagine what happened there. What I would think that it happens in that kind of social experiments is that the persons with more social skills and with more education, they take it more advantage to empower themselves and to make profit by the use of the house. And my question about the existence of that house is if we are not perpetuating the same system where the people with more social capital, let's put it that way, takes more advantage. And for me, I would try also to think how can we the fact that the house it owns itself, maybe that would be an opportunity to correct asymmetries on the power, because I think it's not fair if a guy uses the house and makes $1,000 in an afternoon, should have to pay the same or doesn't have some kind of rule where, well, you have to give a bit more to the house, and give that just to the conscience of people. Can you please just speak a bit more about these kind of problems, if you had them, if you discuss it, if you just don't look at them, or if you, for instance, the extreme case of people that earn a lot of money and that didn't not even were like wanted to share and stuff like that.
Yeah, the thing is, for me, um, I create an analogy for in my head, of course, of a jungle. Okay, so if this was a jungle, which animal am I? Which animal? Everyone with its own characteristics have something on the jungle. Of course, I agree with you that people with social skill will thrive, but anywhere. It's not just social skills is a skill. Skills and how to use it anywhere. It's part of nature, I think. Like depending on the ecosystem, but of course, us as conscious beings, we can try to create mechanisms. Even on dialogue, for example, if someone don't talk a lot, and he wants to be a part of the conversation, and his opinion is important. For example, a mediator of dialogues will try to give him more time, and will try to cut the time from people that talk a lot. But this also is social skill. It depends on the person. For example, people here are not obligated to talk or to ask, but you can hear it and stuff like that. So it's a bit complex what you're saying because it depends on a lot of factors. But I think, yes, there are mechanisms to give more fairness in the participation of the fruits of this jungle. So, of course, I'm a bee, I'm not a tiger. Can I have a part of this mango? Like, I think how we share things that emerges in this ground is how we can also recognize the role of each one, and not just as social skills. And I say that because in a company, for example, who are the people that do most of the results? It's not operational, it's the commercial. Without commercial, nothing happens. Like, but the commercial is the business. No, it's just an analogy, but commercials have social skills, negotiation skills, and stuff like that. But they don't have another thing. And another thing that I have to say is, not everyone will be useful. Actually, there are people that is going to be the opposite. It's going to be people that will somehow be a problem, and you have to deal with conflict. Conflict is necessary, always. And you have to dialogue with it. And to have support, vulnerability, and strength, it's complicated, always, in every situation. Not just in the house, but in life itself. We have to conflict. But also, as curator, we have this kind of behavior of people that conflict, sometimes politely with method, but there were people without method also and say whatever and fuck off and is that, and you have to deal with that. But is that
Before you mentioned this, I also wanted to actually like ask maybe Nora, because she's the only one who is from another part of the world. You are like somehow you mentioned how approximately things work in South America. We are now all who were talking mainly Europeans. But I'm just wondering if you, Nora, when you were listening, were thinking anything like, could that kind of experiment work in Asia? Like, because before we were discussing a little bit about the social rules and how they are, I don't know, like maybe a little bit stronger, maybe. So I'm just wondering, do you think if there was a space that would be created for people where they could be completely free of those rules? Do you think, can you imagine what could happen?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. That when I heard this experiment, that the first thing come to my mind is, because I come from a very restricted country, so a house like this would be labeled as criminal criminal house immediately, probably.
the name of it? Criminal house.
Yes, yes, and then and then yes, probably shut down immediately, or if you come to the house, all the people will start to probably talking about, oh, that's the one going to the house. Yeah, who knows what exactly happened in the house?
Do you think this would be some sort of a little bit of a social pressure from the outside to stop that kind of experiment? Because come on, we have rules. You cannot not have just some kind of crazy chaotic place. It could be dangerous. Or why do you think this would happen?
I think because Taiwanese basically we really like to follow rules. So, like for example, when COVID happened, we just we are willingly wear the mask, and almost no one break the rules. But I know in maybe the U.S., people don't want to wear a mask and they just fight against it. So I can say we are our people really are willingly to follow rules. And if, for example, if there is something drug maybe happen in the house, then probably someone will report it, and then the whole thing was ruined. I don't know. Does that happen? Did it happen?
Actually, I told about my experiment, and it followed the Brazilian culture. But trying to remember the recipes to invoke a cultural spirit that manifests a local thing, I think the questions of what we are trying to subserve, subversivo, how can I say that, Miguel, in English? Sorry, guys, my lack of vocabulary.
Achieve?
Não,
Or
subversivo. Subver-
Topple something which exists, find a new way.
yeah, find a new way. It's kind of an alchemy. That's why I try to put on a witchcraft recipe, like put those ingredients, say some magical words. But actually, I think that the social experiment has to be a social experiment, and respect the borders of the culture, and that's why there is this method, this recipe that take a concept. I think this was the first ingredient. Of course, I didn't wrote that, and I said it, but the first ingredient that what kind of social institution we want to put on a subversive um, shit. I don't know how.
It's correct.
Yeah, it's correct. Okay, way. So
so
there,
what are we challenging in
what are we challenger, and what body we are putting in this challenger a spirit in a place is a temple. It's like there is Foucault, and he have this term called heterotopia, like temples are heterotopies. That is a place that unites symbols, emotions, memory, culture. Like if you go to a temple, is that you can understand a society through a place like that. But there are ways to challenge culture, because culture is the ancient knowledge that we try to replicate to survive. That's that. But we need to thrive it. And maybe in your culture, what kind of social institution that is a pillar of our psyche? Because maybe your culture, we have some differences, but what could change? And maybe it's not a house, maybe it's an object, maybe it's something like that. I have another example in that my culture, Brazil, was trying, not my culture, a kind of culture in Brazil was trying to challenge what we think about price of things, value, costs. And there was another social experiment that one of those guys that founded the house with us was a partner, and he worked with me since last year, Michael. He had a coffee called Like Coffee. And in this coffee, they were just trying, it's a normal coffee shop, but you pay whatever you want for the coffee. Just that. Just something to, and it was in a flow place, in where people could go and talk And there are, and they had this priest that were tackling this coffee come from whatever farm. That's a farm. That's organic. You can see it. The farm reality is that they make that of money. I make that of money. I'm an owner here. I have my risks. My coffee is the most delicious coffee because it were the most delicious fucking coffee. So what the fuck? And I can pay nothing if I, yeah, you can. No, this is most fucking delicious thing that I ever tried. This have much value that I will pay more that values. So it's subversive. It's. I think it's like art. This kind of thing is art. It's you can change social institutions that are in our psyches. This is just one way, but the recipes I think we can replicate in different things, not just in a house, not just in a product, not just in one experience. We can try to prove and put that spirit arise. And I don't know, just a question for her because do you think there is something that you could try to subserve challenge? Yeah, because it's not just challenge. Challenge is a part of way, but subservice is like what children do, taking a spoon and transforming it in an airplane and playing with it with this kind of uh, 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 um,
Subvert.
subvert. There is an institution that do you could you think now? It's please if you don't answer it. But do you feel that's possible in our culture to do something like that, or have you ever saw something that changed in a light way? In a light, because everything light, like coffee, like in a light way, the way that
Norms and
yeah, you challenge your common sense for another.
Yeah, I think the coffee shop example is that's something we can do in our country definitely, and it's that definitely challenge the current what we have now, and I think that inspire people to think about what how much efforts that you actually bring the coffee to the table, and that I think in Taiwan, what we are trying to do to challenge the culture, there's something happening. Maybe, like, for example, we start to have more people cooking for others, but they don't have a actual store. It's kind of like private connection. They know each other, and so they invite each other to their house, and they cook for them, and maybe not kind of like the coffee that you can just decide how much you want to pay. So I think that's probably our version of the house. Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
Um, I had similar. I had experiences not like that, but similar like that, but not as just. It was an occupied house in Porto, and there was another experience in Galicia that was Casa Colorida. Casa Colorida, they had they wanted to make to create a protocol of use. This means that there's a protocol to use the house, that are the rules, and anybody can use it since they follow the protocol. And Casa Viva, it was an anarchist place that was mostly used for concerts and discussions and events during the night because the people could do noise. But I'm bringing these examples, and I would join the cafe example, and I even would join the Wizard Amigos experience here, all on the same level, to just to make an observation is that when you create something that it doesn't exist in society, everybody wants to be present. Who's everybody? It's the people that also want to change things in society. Basically, they want to, even if they have money or not, they feel like. I think, for instance, in Porto, we did a festival. It was the day before Christmas, and it was called Matanças. It's what's like Matanças. It's killing violently. The name of the festival could be translated like killing violently, and it was a punk hardcore festival for 2 days, and it was punk hardcore music. It was like okay, so it was, and it could lead to those kinds of experiments. But socially, what happened is that you have, since the most since every strata of society, you go there, because the doesn't exist part, the new part, the making things new, making things. I think blockchain attracts people like that also, because it's a new space where you can explore and do, and everybody that goes there to try to do things there because of the factor that this didn't exist before, so we can do things that, and that's it.
Very interesting. Now, when you said this about blockchain, and I was thinking about what Nora said, how Taiwanese like the rules. I started thinking like, oh, maybe that's why Taiwanese like blockchain so much, because it's because it's actually, yes, because it's like, oh, you can kind of be creative and do something new, but you can make rules, and like a lot of them. It's like, maybe this is actually very, very, and Germans also like blockchain somehow, because they also like rules. So it's very interesting actually. I mean, there could be something, because we were discussing like how come blockchain is so popular in Taiwan. It's really like,
I'm not sure if that works, because Brazil goes far away from Portugal, goes deeper. You have blockchain in Brazil everywhere, and Portugal you have almost zero. And so I'm not sure if I'm not sure.
You have community trying to build something in blockchain in Brazil, but actually in Portugal you have more projects.
You have foreigner people that come here for not paying taxes. In Brazil, you have blockchain for lawyers. You have in Brazil, you have. I can quote you.
I know,
Okay,
I know, I
okay,
know.
but well, but you don't. You're not defending. You're not supporting me. So I have to remind you what exists in Brazil that we don't have in Portugal. Okay, we have groups of lawyers that they just meet and they have an association just to try to, because they are afraid of losing their jobs, basically, because if you do smart contracts, you don't need lawyers, right? So in Portugal, we don't have those yet. And they think that it's forever, so they are great guys, lawyers in Portugal. Anyway, I could go on, and you know that Brazil goes much far ahead in blockchain terms than Portugal, anyway. Made by Portuguese.
And innovation.
Innovation in general.
And innovation. Yeah. So, guys, it's that. I don't know if
any
there-
final thoughts, maybe any final question.
Question. Yes. I'm very curious. In house 0, the first one,
Hell zero.
right?
Yeah.
How many keys were copied?
I really don't know.
No, but
We don't have any control, and that's
amazing.
I don't. There was a time. The first time I get what the fuck is going on, is I was there with a friend of mine on Saturday night. Nobody's in the house. 8 p.m. And we were drinking a wine, talking, and a girl just opened the door with a lot of people. Say hi. Oh, I never saw that girl. And she was explaining. She had the door key, don't know where. She took it, and she was explaining for people that I didn't know what the house. It was like that, man. It's what the fuck? Who is she? And me and Lucas, that actually is the name of my children, but me and Lucas Jaja, we look at each other, what the fuck, and it was funny to see that, you know. But I don't know, for example, things that it could be blockchain, okay, blockchain, but it's, I think the key, it's more about social technology and also some kind of measurement of social retribution. Of course, cleaning, it's something kind of social retribution. Doing things is social retribution. But we didn't know how much people were in the house, man. I don't know how many events have in the house, because when we started to have a Google agenda, 1 year was passed away. Like, so it was like a lot of things happened, you know, and we didn't measure it. We didn't, like, my measurement was, oh, I don't need to give money from my wallet. Like, for me, this was the key result of success, you know, like, I don't need to put money on that. That's okay. But
Oh, thank you. That answers the question, actually. I mean, if you can't measure it, it means it's definitely not centralized.
it's definitely what.
If you can't measure it, if you can't summarize it, then it's definitely not centralized.
We have to discuss this after.
But I would like to, for example, I would like to, I was talking to a guy in that time, to have an Arduino thing, just to understand how much people pass through the entering door and the exit door, just to have any notion, because we were super curious to understand what the fuck was happening, and to give some measurement, not to our benefit, but to understand what the fuck is happening, what the fuck is happening. And so, for example, Google Agenda, maybe something that I can access, I don't know. There is a guy that can access the Google Agenda, because he was putting print screens just to record. But I don't know how many events we did. There was no needing to control it, because control take effort, because we were lazy at some time, because we did a lot of things and take a lot of effort to oh, what's happening, who is there. Fuck off, I don't care, it's like that, you know.
Thanks.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay, thank you.